and welcome to another episode of Classroom. So over the past few episodes, we've talked about the importance of commodities, we've talked about crude prices. What we haven't talked about is pricing within our own country. What we mean when we talk about free pricing for oil or for fuel and even for cooking fuel subsidies or the subsidies that are given right now, and why that needs to be turned around. So it's going to be a little complicated or complex this time on Classroom, but we'll try and break it down, make it simple, and most importantly, get to the crux of the matter. What does free pricing mean? Why are people so much in support of it, and why hasn't it happened yet? There's two gentlemen who understand that issue very carefully, and they join me today on the show. Subir Raha, ex-chairman of ONGC, and S.C. Tripathi, the former oil secretary. Gentlemen, great to have both of you on the show. We'll have to start backwards this time on Classroom. So, Mr. Raha, let me start with you in terms of defining what the current mechanism is or what the current formula is in terms of pricing, what is often called the ad hoc mechanism.
It's actually called the Administered Pricing Mechanism, the APM. And what's actually happening that you have the international prices which vary from day to day, from hour to hour, whereas the government within the country has prices which are fixed over months and years. Now, these domestic prices, the administered prices, are very often much less than the prevailing international prices. So the companies which are marketing, they suffer a loss, which is the difference between the international prices at which they import products and crude and the domestic prices at which they sell. Now, this differential is made up by the government through the subsidy mechanism, which comes partly from upstream companies like ONGC and Oil India, partly from the government as oil bonds, and part of it is absorbed by the marketing companies. Now, this is the present mechanism in which the five major products of consumption, which is cooking gas, LPG, kerosene, gasoline, that's petrol, diesel, and jet fuel, these are controlled by the government under the APM formula. That's the present mechanism. The rest of the products are already on free market pricing, and they have been so since 1993.
APM is what it's called, Mr. Raha. The critics like to call it the ad hoc mechanism. So, Mr. Tripathi, why was it done in the first place? Just to understand where this entire policy has come from.
Well, there is a long story. In fact, Mr. Raha was the chief executive of Oil Coordination Committee when the administered price mechanism was in full force. And at that time, it was based on net return on the asset. And then there used to be an oil pool account from which some refineries used to be subsidized, and from some they used to take a little more. Ambition of the government was to move towards free pricing mechanism, and in 1997 they declared that they would move towards that, and they freed other products which they call the industrial products, but the sensitive products, the four, petrol, diesel, kerosene and LPG, they decided to keep under a control mechanism. And only sometime in 2002, in fact there is a notification which has still not been withdrawn, which says from 1st of April 2002, those four products will also be put on the free price mechanism. Then the free price mechanism at that point of time, that is in 2002, for these four products meant that the prices would be compared with the imported price, and they would be fixed in line with the import price. That is, if a landed product plus custom duty plus transport, insurance, and then other prevailing duties that were applicable, the state government duties, etc. And that's how they reached the selling point. And that was going on till, I should say, end of 2003.